Hey, what's up guys? So just going to kick off and straight into a Stamblade build here. Let's get straight into it. Just going to show you the stats quick here, buffed up. So that's like really high weapon damage. The crit is extremely high. The recovery's really nice, to be honest. Brightheart being the main set, that's going to be 5 piece on the body. Massive amount of weapon damage, a little bit of healing, not really there for the healing, just for the weapon damage and the crit. There again, more pen with New Moon. We're going to be front barring that, 1 recovery piece on the jewelry, all 3 infused. Grundwolf, really good sustain set, optional. You could switch it out for just straight damage if you want, Balor, 1 Kina, 1 Balor, whatever you fancy on the monster set, to be honest. I like having that little bit of sustain for 1VX with the crit, it seems to do it. Bewitched Sugar Skulls for the food, or Artaeum. Like I say, I switch between both. At the moment I've got Artaeum on showing you them stats, but if you can play without the recovery, I'd probably recommend Sugar Skull. But that's down to the player. Zolven Vigor, basic heal. Just your basic heal, poison inject, proc the bow. This ult is really powerful in small scale or group if you're getting beat up, chased down. I think the cost's been lowered as well, so that's a really powerful ultimate. There's your burst heal. Shade, like the most important escape skill. Camo Hunter, 8% damage, the crit. We'll go a bit more into surprise attack a bit later, the damage of it. Merciless, basically, just you'll execute your big punch. And obviously, incapacitating strike. There's the Artaeum. Probably the best food to use, honestly. It just allows you to dodge roll a bit more, but if you can sustain, like I say, which is going to allow you to cloak and use your magic abilities a lot more. Wood Elf, I just think the passives are the best. The stat sheet's crazy. You add that pen onto that stat sheet. If you could see the pen on the build with the 1 pen piece from New Moon as well, it's a crazy build. Break free, you're not going to be break free in as much as other teams, so I didn't go mad on that. Just basic CP, the rest of that there. Nothing into Bless, that's an option this patch if you want, but just as a Cloak Blade, I don't see that being important. Big Master at Arms. Could put into Tactician, put some into Physical Weapon Expert. Definitely something to think about. This isn't min-maxed. It's just a good basic setup. No real procs or anything like that. No changes to gameplay or anything. People may ask why I run so much in thick-skinned on a Cloak Blade, but that's purely because of skills like Permafrost. I find a lot of the time I'm dying if I haven't got good placement off of my Shade. It's going to be like a Permafrost or a Destro that's going to really put in some work on you, so I find it important to have Thermitage up there. You see like a 14.9k surprise attack tooltip is huge. Most PvPers aren't running Dizzies that hit that hard. It'd be the equivalent of like having like an 18k Dizzy swing tooltip, which is really powerful with the Wood Elf pen as well, and that extra movement speed. Another reason I chose Wood Elf on this build is just purely because the movement speed off the Wood Elf. One of the problems I have on Stamblade is people getting out of range of me when they're in, say, execute range, and I just find that speed helps me stay on top of them. That's what made me pick it over Orc, honestly. Alright, over to the next class video. So we are on the Stamina Templar. Eternal Vigor double barred. People are saying, oh, you could run Brightheart and on the front bar and put something else on the back bar, and I can appreciate that, but as the sword and board, I just want everything to be there all the time. I don't want any procs, I don't want any difficulties in my gameplay, I just want everything to be there. Now, on the Stamina Templar, typically, I run less damage than your average Stamplar, and that's just purely because I feel like, A, you need some form of resistance, you feel really squishy, and Bloodspawn's been buffed, so it's just a great choice again for Xing. Eternal Vigor, awesome choice. 1 reduced stamina ability cost, it's really nice on the Stamplar, a lot of abilities are really cheap. It generally makes a big difference on sustain. So it's just a really basic setup. I've got like 3 mobility skills, and I've got Purify that's giving me the D snare. I've got Sigil that's a guaranteed snare, and Elude that's giving me speed, and that's just on the back bar. That's just how I play. I like to have a lot there in the way of movement, just an escape bar. And there's your basic damage skill. You could run Power of the Light if you wanted over the Execute maybe, but Execute's really good. Power of the Light's a 6-second burst skill. It's just not great in 1vx outnumbered. You got to try and pressure for someone for 6 seconds. It's not ideal. Could swap out for Empower and Sweep again if you want to. It's going to get your Burning Light passive proccing a bit more. Dawnbreaker, just that hard CCs basically, and again for the axe, it's the best. Orc, so I've definitely got some sprint reduction. I want that wind running passive, so I've just chucked a bit into Arcanist completely unnecessarily just to try and get that up there, to get that wind run. On a sword and board, don't need too much more block mitigation. I still dodge roll a hell of a lot, so Blast, really important this patch. You could even push it up to 10%. That's just preference, honestly. 22 Master at Arms, buff the jabs, above everything else I use. Important to have quite a bit in pen on a Stamplar, just because there's not really a fracture on this build, so. And the defensive CP is generally a few things. I'd say like Hardy Alley, they're a must-have. Obviously, thick skin doesn't need to be high. You're going to be cleansing a lot of Eternal Vigor, and quick recovery is just there to help. Just help the heal in this patch, which is a bit rougher than it has been. Tripods, obviously, just really good. Poisons, optional. Damage Glyph poisons really is preference. They don't proc that often, so. Immovables are there for pushing groups outnumbered. You don't want to get CC'd when you're going in with the ult, and that's just really nice if you're in a small group. I feel like you get ultimate back a lot quicker. Really good pots, those pots I just showed. Could swap Bloodspawn out, like you say. Group play, you might want Valor. You might say, I'll put Valor on solid. You might just go one of both. Get just genuinely to get a max stat up there. Buff up and show you the stats. We're still in our rune, and our resistance is still a little low, but we're an orc, so the weapon damage, you've got to think there's the weapon damage glyph on the front bar, which is constantly going to be up pretty much with light attack weaves. We got the penetration, not nan, so that's why it looks a little low as well, and we've got obviously the buff from Brightheart, 435 weapon damage. That's a lot of weapon damage. So roughly we're going to be sitting at, like, realistically in combat on the two-hand bar, maybe just under 5 to 5k. But honestly, that's just, it feels like enough on a Stamplar to me. I think you build any more, it's just not as needed as survivability is. So a magsorc, just trying to do something different. There's not many great sets to run on magsorc this patch, so I just don't want to run and put a build video up like every single other person. I'd say Brightheart crafty, Necro crafty, you know, but it's Armorplasm crafty, Shackle crafty. It's just too common. I'm trying something different. And this build is really nice, honestly. That tankiness open world of this build is extremely tanky. Great survivability. See, that trait, I've just got on at the moment from another build, but I definitely swapped that trait to penetration. Sharpened. Shooting great, gives you a flex spot on your skills, gives you even more resistance and health, which is it's just really nice to have a bigger health pool in a magsorc. Crafty, just basic, good damage, good shields, adds to your defense, adds to your damage, adds to your sustain. Just a bit different, and I've done the math on it. It's on the offensive, you'd be better with recovery, but I find solo gameplay, you're on the back bar a hell of a lot on the magsorc, so it is really, really nice. Again, when you're actually deep into a 1vx, I feel like tripods for sustain are going to be a lot better, but spell power pots are probably going to be the option to take. If you're not too pressured, you're not too outnumbered, you've got the stamina, I'd definitely recommend going with spell power pots there. an important passive with Healing Ward. People will wonder why I'm using Healing Ward also, and that's just, again, it's off meta. It still works. It's still a great ability. It really is. It's like the burst heal at low with them passes from the resto. It's just a really nice ability. People could say put the Ice Staff on, but with Crit Surge, I feel like you're definitely going to heal up quicker with Healing Ward. There, again, Ellie Weapon. If you like that, it's an amazing spammable. You could swap that out for the Execute, but I find the Execute much better. That's preference though. I think everyone runs their own kind of damage on Zork. You could definitely change the skill bars in this build, but I think the stats are really strong. We haven't got much weapon damage, so again, there's quite a big pen stack on this build. We're using overloads as staff experts, a really nice CP line. Says stats. The one thing obviously with this build is the spell damage really low, but again, like the Stamplar, the recovery's low. Also, we've got the reduced cost gloves to cover that, but like the Stamplar, the skill set on this class is really powerful, so I feel like a massive damage stack is unnecessary, especially for solo gameplay as a survivability stack would be. I hope you guys like the builds, and yeah, tune in again. Cheers.